Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another INART 1/6 scale Lord of the Rings figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Ringwraith as well as his horse. Now, I got mine direct from INART. I've popped a link to their site in the description, but I've also included a link down there to pop Collectibles, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. If you're heading down that way, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as brand new INART content goes live. You know what, I'm pretty curious about this one. I've never owned a figure that's displayable without a head sculpt. Usually, the highlight of a 1/6 scale release is the head sculpt, but the Nazgûl simply doesn't have one, so I'm curious to see what's going on inside the box. As for the box art, INART, I wish you'd cut it out with the clear plastic slipcovers. They don't feel premium, they get scratched up very easily, they're fingerprint magnets. At least frost them if you have to include them. Because this is pure class. How can you cover a fabric-wrapped box with clear plastic? It just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, black fabric all the way around the box, Nazgûl in the middle, gold foil printing, gold foil up top for the Lord of the Rings logo, and you can rotate this ring. This video is brought to you by JustinsCollection.shop, the home of the figure first aid kit, as well as other accessories to help your collection be the best it can be. The first aid kit contains multiple tools to help you with maintenance, styling rooted hair, and much more. We also sell crotch grabbers, soft rubber tips to prevent damage, and they're compatible with most modern Hot Toys base molds. Acrylic risers come in multi-packs, they're optically clear, thick and sturdy, and stackable. Check out the link to JustinsCollection.shop in the description. On the side of the box, more of that heavily textured black fabric, a Lord of the Rings logo, and a little bit of the image that you're about to see on the back of the box. And there it is, in all its glory, this lighter grey printed silhouette style image of the Ringwraith on his horse. I'm not sure about them printing Ringwraiths on the back, unless they're suggesting we get 9 of these. A full set of Nazgûl would get very expensive very quickly. Flipping open the top cover, held in place with magnets, literature packet, make sure you read the instructions because there is some assembly required, especially for the horse. First in-hand impressions for our headless Nazgûl. So far so good. Noticing a lot of weathering, a lot of heft, some die cast for the armor. We'll dive in deeper in just a minute. What we're going to do now though is get all of the Ringwraith's accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first, they've done something so clever with this. When I opened the box, and I was greeted by the deluxe combined horse and Ringwraith base, I thought they'd pulled a Hot Toys and only included the larger base with the deluxe version of the Nazgûl. But no. Underneath it, there's a storage compartment where you can store the standard base. You get both of them. There's heaps of texture around the edge, Nazgûl for the nameplate, and some green shading around the perimeter. There's a little bit of texture up top. I would have liked some paint, some extra detail, but seeing as though this is more like a bonus base, I'm okay with it. Now, when the Nazgûl went up for pre-order, he was billed as coming with a magnetic base, but they've since changed their approach with bases. We get a height-adjustable metal crotch grabber instead. But the deluxe base is where it's at. It is sizable. It needs to be for the horse to stand on it. We've got metal pins that insert into the horse's feet, so it should be a stable connection. This sort of grit and texture and detail, all these paint apps, this is sort of what I wanted for the standard base, but at least it's here on the deluxe. Spikes around the edge, bigger ones on all 4 corners. They're not PVC plastic, they're more of a sturdier plastic, so you might spike yourself if you're not careful when you're handling this, as I am doing now, reviewing this piece. Nazgûl for the nameplate still, and we've got that green shading around the edge. These two have me scratching my head a bit. I think this is a store exclusive accessory, but I can't find any information at all on the flaming torch. It may also be an exclusive, or they could have just chucked it in at the last second. If I get any information on this piece, I'll add it down in the comments section. Translucent plastic for the flame up top, and I love the way it looks like it's wrapping around what's underneath it. Heaps of texture for the handle, it's all sculpted plastic, and this is PVC, so it's a little bit flexible. There is so much surface detail on just the sheath for the exclusive sword, and the paint applications. Dark, shiny gunmetal with a black wash, and the blade, it's got speckling on it. It's die-cast. Every single one of the swords in this set, die-cast metal. And all different designs, shapes, and sizes too, so if you get multiple Ringwraiths, you can differentiate them from one another on the shelf by giving them different swords. But seriously, I cannot get over the sculpt work, even for the crossguard. The pommel is nice and spiky. Die-cast metal, not just for the blade, but the handle as well. The largest blade of the set has a very unique design to it, how it kicks in before it gets quite thin towards the tip. These being metal swords, they are very prickly, so please be careful not to spike yourself when you're trying to pose the Ringwraith with them. And lastly, we get some hands. There's die cast on them. The armor on the fingers, the armor on the back of the hands, real metal. And check out the paint applications, the sculpted detail, the texture. I keep saying that stuff over and over again, but seriously, it is that impressive. I'm a little nervous about the gripping hands though, because trying to pry open the hands to pop the swords in there with the die-cast armor on them, not sure how easy that's going to be. And lastly, we get some relaxed open palm hands already installed on him right out of the box. What we're going to do now is move on to the horse. But the question is this an accessory or is it a figure? It's not posable, it's a statue, it also plugs into the base. I'm going to treat this as an extension of the base. It's an accessory, essentially. The pose they've gone with, perfect. One leg up, suitably dynamic. There's die cast here, it's very heavy, and it's sort of modular. You can remove the saddle if you don't want it there. Just held in place with magnets. The blanket also comes off, but when you do remove it, the magnets are visible, so I'm personally just going to leave it in place. There's leather grain on it, wrinkling, and a matte finish. It looks like it's made out of leather, but this isn't. It's sculpted plastic. Die-cast metal stirrups, die-cast for all of the buckles, and die-cast head armor. But it's the red eyes peering out from underneath the armor that make this horse look just creepy enough for it to be paired up with the Nazgûl. The teeth, they're yellow and gross, and they're separated by some black paint in between them. The wounds, there's a gloss to the wounds, and then there's more of a satin finish to the fur. They stand out, and they look absolutely disgusting. The tail is wired, so you can pose it. I'm going to leave it just hanging straight down, but I mean, you can really do whatever you want with it. There's some real fur up top underneath all the straps. Then we've got the reins, real metal hardware connecting all of this stuff to the bridle and that head armor. Yeah, the musculature, you can see all of the striations that would be underneath the skin and fur. This is some beautiful sculpt work. These nails up front are real metal, so please be extremely careful when you're handling this horse. You would not want to stab yourself. So the horse connects to the base with these peg ports underneath its feet. You literally just slot it on there. Now that the horse is on the base, those metal pins going into the 2 feet, this one's up, the other is sitting at an angle. I don't have any concerns, really, about this leaning from one side to the other, even when you've got the Nazgûl on it, and the Nazgûl is quite heavy thanks to all of that die-cast armor because of how solid the connection to the base is. Enough about the horse, we will see it again later, and we'll pop Nazgûl on it, I promise. I think it's time to move on to the Nazgûl himself. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses, or accessories, or anything like that. I hate to say this, but I also sort of feel I need to. This comes across as though it's a little beneath INART. No head sculpt, no moving eyes. No skin texture, no rooted hair. There's nothing that screams INART specifically about Nazgûl to me. Any company really could have made this. It's a blank body with some robes over the top. However, Where INART takes this to the next level is the die-cast armor, all of the accessories, and the horse. Then it starts to make sense. But just looking at it at face value, if you're confused as to why INART decided to make a Nazgûl, I don't blame you. Proportions, though, are solid. You have to work with the robes to get them to look right, but you can do it. And the fabric they've gone with, thin, lightweight, textured, weathered, and wired. Up close and personal, this is so different for me because normally I'd be saying kicking things off with the Nazgûl's head sculpt, but there is no head sculpt. Well, there sort of is, but it's just a hollow sculpted plastic hood, really. I like the idea, the concept behind what they were going for, because there's not really meant to be anything inside of this, and in normal lighting it looks quite shadowy, you don't see the plastic, but under studio lighting it's slightly reflective, it's not matte enough, so you can see the inner workings of how this hood is constructed. Bringing the fabric up at the bottom, you can sort of hide it, but no matter what you do, you will be seeing a little bit of that semi-gloss plastic. There's some sculpted texture inside the hood. I'm not sure if that's coming across on camera, but it does a decent enough job of giving you an approximation of what the inside of an empty hood would look like. Then the rest of Nazgûl is die-cast armor, yes, but over the top of that, a lot of black fabric. It's not as though they've just cut out like a 1/6 scale bedsheet though and chucked it over a body. There's structure to it, there's multiple layers, different textures and finishes and thicknesses of fabric. Then weathering over the top. You can see it on the ends of the sleeves and there's some little spots dotted around the place. Tattered edges for certain pieces and so many wires. Like the hood, it's velcroed down over the sculpted plastic inner hood. Then we've got wires down the front, wires for the inner robes, and wires for both of these sleeve sections. All of this was pre-assembled as well. I didn't have to install anything, luckily, except for the sword and sheath through these straps on the belt. Die-cast buckle, I believe, and that is not the only die-cast for Nazgûl. Underneath the sleeves, all of this armor, up his arms, die-cast. Fully sculpted, painted, weathered, detailed to the nines. See what I did there? 9 Ringwraiths, detailed to the nines. I'm so sorry. You can't see most of this stuff normally unless you roll up the sleeves. That's not movie accurate though, so this stuff will be hidden underneath the robes. Try as I might to get this thing to look good and structured on camera, it feels messy. I need to adjust the wires. I would suggest dialing in the pose first, then you can work with the wires. Coming down to the legs, once again, all die-cast for the armor. And the way it works, it's separate individual plates. As you can see, they move around to accommodate articulation. I'm not sure how many of these plates are separate, maybe just these two, but they work flawlessly. Real hinges at the bottom, real metal buckles and some straps. There's limited articulation for the feet. You will see what I mean when we get to the articulation segment. Real tattered raw edge for the bottom of the robes, all of the different layers. Unfortunately, these little strings do tend to come off, so limit the amount of interaction you have with them, otherwise the fraying could get worse and not in a good way. I don't know what else to say really. The body feels good, articulation is serviceable. We've spoken about the belt and the textured fabric and the weathering and the die-cast armor, the lack of a head sculpt. That pretty much covers it, I reckon. For a quick side-by-side comparison, INART's Nazgûl, this looks great. I cannot wait to slowly but surely build out the Lord of the Rings collection, but seeing as though Nazgûl is meant to be 9 different Ringwraiths, scaling almost goes out of the window. I don't have any complaints. Going over articulation, starting off with the non-head sculpt, this hollow hood piece, ball joint at the base of it, looking all the way forward, looking back to there, limited by the fabric that's velcroed over the top of it, swivel, and some pivot side to side. Arms go up to there at the shoulders, unhindered by the full fabric outfit, forward and back, butterfly joint that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90, but only just because there's a lot of armor underneath the robes. Then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. Torso crunching forward to there, pretty decent range, going back to there, swivel, and some pivot side to side. Legs will go forward to there, but the die-cast armor is very heavy. The leg joints have to do a significant amount of heavy lifting, quite literally, so sometimes they can't keep the legs propped up. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee, going past 90. And nothing really at the ankles. Maybe a little forward and back. Certainly no swivel, and no real ankle tilt either. Wrapping up on INART's Nazgûl, do I need 9 of these? No, I don't think so. 1 is more than enough for me personally. Love the horse, might just be the standout of the set. That along with the die-cast swords and the die-cast armor. The robes, they're executed as well as you would expect them to be. Except for the raw edges. I'm nervous that they're going to fray and there's going to be loose threads coming off this guy. Hopefully that's not the case. I'll keep an eye on it. But it's mostly smooth sailing. There's no eyes you have to adjust, no head sculpt you have to work with to get the pose to look good. It's a figure that once you pop it in a pose, you can set it and forget it. This isn't one that you're going to have to keep coming back to over and over and over again, adjusting little things to make sure the pose is as good as possible. It's quite easy to work with, is what I'm trying to say. So at the end of this, not my favorite INART Lord of the Rings release, not their strongest outing, but they did exactly what they needed to do to translate Nazgûl to 1/6 scale with some clever innovations with the head sculpt and the display base, how it slots underneath the deluxe one. I love that. Now, I got mine direct from INART. I've popped a link to their site in the description, as well as a link to pop Collectibles down there, with the discount code Justin's Collection for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. If you're heading down that way, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.